The purpose of this presentation is to educate individuals about Chinese culture and to provide advice about working with Chinese ELL students in the American classroom. China is officially known as the People's Republic of China, and it boasts a population of more than 1 billion, or about 1/7 of the world's total population. Ancient China has contributed many inventions to the world, such as fireworks, paper, and the printing press. Today, Chinese education is considered very competitive. People even compete to get into the best preschool or kindergarten. It is also regulated by high-stakes tests. A single test can determine one's fate for life. These tests are administered at the end of elementary to determine what middle school the student will attend, at the end of middle school to see if the student will be allowed to attend high school as well as which school they will attend, and finally at the end of high school they will take the National College Entrance Exam to determine what college they will attend and what they will major in. Mandarin Chinese is the dominant language of China. It is a tonal language, which means that the tone one uses can change the meaning of the words one is saying. It is also a logographic language, which means it relies on characters to represent ideas and objects rather than using the Roman alphabet. There are 47,000 different characters, but 3,000 to 4,000 characters are used in daily life. Pinyin was developed as a way to represent the Mandarin language using the Roman alphabet. Mandarin is also the oldest writing system still used today. Below you can see examples of phrases in English, Mandarin, and Pinyin. China is the world's oldest living continuous culture, and it maintains a unique blend of tradition and superstition mixed with modernization. This has created a tension between traditional and modern culture as China's role in our global world shifts. Traditional values of Chinese culture are nature, art and decoration, and harmony. The value of these concepts can be seen in the beautiful gardens of China, Chinese temples, the art of Chinese calligraphy, and in the brightly colored decorations and festivals. Chinese culture is a mixture of these three religions, and they can even coexist within the same temple. At one point, religion was even banned as anti-communist, an issue that will be discussed later. For these reasons, it is difficult to trace the specific influences of religion, although it is clear that religious elements are incorporated into Chinese culture. Some items in Chinese culture are considered lucky, while others are considered unlucky, and these designations are taken much more seriously than in many other cultures. For example, dragons, monkeys, fish, jade, gold, and the color red are all considered lucky. The Chinese also hold many superstitious beliefs, such as the belief that evil things travel in straight lines, so roofs are often curved to prevent evil from entering buildings. They will also hang little statues called door gods on doorways to ward off evil. They believe that a house should never be cleaned on New Year's Day for fear that all the new good fortune will be swept away. Finally, they believe that 8 is lucky because it sounds like the Chinese word for fortune, and 4 is unlucky because it sounds like the Chinese word for death. Mao was the communist leader of China from the mid-20th century until the late 1970s. His failed economic policies led to the death of more than 30 million Chinese due to famine and related illness. His Cultural Revolution sought to reinvent the Chinese culture, But communism has turned out to be little more than the imperial system under a different name. The Cultural Revolution proved to be very damaging to Chinese culture and progress. Today, China is still a communist republic, and the government also censors all forms of media. The concept of saving face refers to retaining dignity in public situations. The Chinese avoid anything that could cause a person to lose face, including blaming someone for something they did wrong or confronting someone. The government also does not want to lose face, so they censor anything that speaks ill or reflects badly on the government. Mao's successors focused largely on turning China's economic situation around. As a result, China is now central to the global economy, and many, although not all, Chinese people enjoy a degree of wealth not previously experienced. However, the Chinese people must learn how to deal with wealth appropriately and how to blend the new influences of wealth and Western culture with their rich and long-standing traditions. When considering Chinese students in American classrooms, there are a few suggestions that will avoid cultural conflict. Be cautious when assigning blame or confronting a student, as these are taboo in Chinese culture and could result in humiliation and insult for the child. Demonstrate respect for Chinese culture at all times. Be aware of how different the classroom environment is in a Chinese classroom than in an American classroom. The Chinese classroom is very strict and play is not allowed. This will be a large adjustment for students coming to an American classroom. Expect to spend more time helping Chinese students acquire English. The two languages are extremely different, which means that it will be more difficult and language will have to be learned from the very beginning. Be aware of the influence Chinese parents have on their children and do not judge this. Although we appreciate individual, independent decision-making in American culture, this is a part of Chinese culture and it needs to be respected as well. Gradually introduce Chinese students to voicing their own opinions within the classroom. Remember that they are coming from a communist country where they can be punished for saying the wrong thing. Finally, a few tips for working with ELL students regardless of what culture they come from. Learn about other cultures with an open mind and not judgment. You can learn about other cultures by interacting with people from those cultures, by traveling, or simply by researching. The important thing is not to judge something as wrong simply because it's different from what you are used to. Check your attitude about certain other cultures. Take a moment to think about whether you view those cultures positively or negatively and why. Unfortunately, it's easy for subtle prejudices to seep in based on what we hear about different cultures. Finally, demonstrate positive appreciation for other cultures. You need to show the students that you value their home culture, or less progress will be made in the classroom.